Welcoming you back to another edition of the Edge podcast. Managing editor Brenden Slaughter, joined as always by my recruiting analyst Jared Halus here for BeaversEdge.com. We're back with another edition of the Edge podcast. And let me just say, folks, this is one we're really, really excited about. Jared and I are going to be drafting an Oregon State dream team. Yes, folks, you heard it, dream team. Jared and I have decided to go through history and pick our ideal Oregon State offense and defense. Jared, kind of give them the layout of what this team's going to look like, what the criteria were. Then we'll dive in and kick off this draft.
Yeah. So first thing I want to point out is that it isn't going to be one team. If you've been an Edge subscriber, you've been on the board for a while, then you probably saw us do this with 2021 recruits, kind of towards the middle of last year. It's going to be that same style. We're going to pick. We're each going to pick a team, and then we'll make our reasoning for each pick throughout, and then also at the end, we'll take a look and see how they match up. And we'll leave it up to you guys to decide whose team you think will win. Won't be full 11-man squads for each side of the ball. It'll just be 7-on-7 style. We'll do a quarterback. We'll do either a running back or wide receiver. You can have three of those, and then you can have three offensive linemen for offense. For defense, you'll have three defensive linemen. You'll have a linebacker, and then you'll have three secondary players. So it'll be interesting for sure. Last time we did this, it was a lot of fun, and I think adding the podcast element will make it much more fun as well.
No, most definitely. And something, you and I are really excited for, just because, the fact that it required some effort on our parts as far as, going back through history and kind of trying to dive into our teams a little bit. And I'd be remiss if I was saying Jared did maybe have a little bit of extra work on his side, having to really dig deep into the Oregon State history books. But we are excited, and something we've been looking forward to, and might as well just go ahead and kick it on off. So, Jared, by nature of being my recruiting analyst, you are going to get the first pick in this draft. Kicks off with quarterback. Which Oregon State quarterback are you taking to lead your team?
So we talked about this, and one thing that we had to clear up in the guidelines was how far back can we go. I think the obvious choice here would be Mr. Baker.
Ooh, taking Terry Baker with the first overall pick. Oregon State's only Heisman Trophy winner. I like it. Why is he your pick, Jared?
Of course, like you were saying, I've got a bit of a disadvantage. So first thing I did when we came up with this idea is like, all right, I got to do my due diligence. So, naturally, you go to Google, you type in best Oregon State blank of all time. First guy that pops up is Terry Baker. So I'm like, okay, he's my quarterback 100%. I have to. He's the Heisman winner, so I can't think of anybody better to lead the team. That being said, there's some other good quarterbacks too, so I'm interested to see who you pick.
Yeah, so Terry Baker definitely made my list, but wasn't who I was going to go number one with, actually, even if I did happen to get it. I am going to take Derek Anderson in this one. And again, this was really tough because there was a case to be made for Jonathan Smith. There was a case to be made for Terry Baker. There's a case to be made for Derek Anderson. Heck, there's even a case to be made for Sean Mannion, maybe even Matt Moore.
Absolutely.
But I go down to Derek Anderson because to this day, Derek Anderson was a guy who I think if he'd gotten a full 4 years at Oregon State, didn't, get full 4 years, as the starter, as, they brought him in just at the tail end of Jonathan Smith's career. Yeah, he's a guy that had a long career in the NFL, right? A guy who, I give credit because before this guy, maybe you'd heard of him, this guy Baker Mayfield took Cleveland to a winning season this year. Derek Anderson was just casually the last quarterback to take Cleveland to a winning season. Back in 2007, they won 10 games. Again, 10 games in Cleveland. That's something. So, no, right. Derek Anderson, obviously not even Oregon State's leading passer as far as yards goes. That honor goes to Sean Mannion. So there was a lot of different factors, but Derek Anderson, heck of an arm. Just love those early 2000s Oregon State's teams. I got Derek Anderson as my quarterback.
It's important to point out too that we're taking in all things into consideration, not just their Oregon State career, not just their NFL career, but a combination of both, and really any other factors that you want to throw in there either. If you like him just because you thought he was a good dude, sure, go.
Yeah, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this isn't necessarily who's better than the other. This is who we think is going to be good on our fantasy team. So, right, like Jared's got the Terry Baker, he's got that dual threat aspect at the quarterback. I go with the statue cannon arm guy. So we'll see how that all plays out as far as this team goes. But by way of the snake draft, I guess that means I'm up next for we pick three here out of wide receiver, or three spots to pick three players out of wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. So running back's going to be my first priority. We're going to get Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson headed to headline my backfield. Ken Symington, I got to give him his credit. Got to give Jaquiz Rogers his credit too. But Oregon State has never had a pro-ready running back like Steven Jackson. The dude went into the pros, dominated. He was a man amongst boys in college. You could see that on the field when he only played 3 years. Went on and had some great years for the then St. Louis Rams. I like that guy as my running back.
I'm actually glad. I'm glad this worked out the way it is because I love my next two picks a lot. And so, I think it'll be advantageous for each of us just as we go on. But for me, I'm gonna keep it with running back, and I think this might be a surprise to some people. I'm gonna go with JJ.
Whoa, okay, I see it.
It wasn't a guy where I thought about it. I wasn't like I don't have to go back into history to figure out who this guy was. I know what this dude's about. I think he'll be a good NFL running back, just as obviously he was in college, especially this season. So I know what I'm getting with him, and I like what I'm getting with him. I think you partner him with just about anybody, he'll be able to get you some yards for sure.
That's nice. That's a nice pick. I must say, Jared, I'm even a little jealous of that one. I like the recency bias on that. Who you got up next?
I mean, this one I feel like it's a given. I'm going to move into wide receiver, and I got to take my man 85, Chad Ochocinco. Chad Johnson. Got to just growing up, he was always one of the headlines. So before I even got to covering Oregon State, rather, I was like, let's see who their all-time greats are. He's one of the first guys that pop up. So it's a no-brainer for me. Got to go with Chad Johnson.
Ooh, Chad Johnson gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was here in Corvallis. That's that'll harken some of these Edge supporters back to some really good times, Jared. You ask any Oregon State fan, let's just talk about 2000. That'll make just about anyone bring a smile to their face for some of the names you mentioned, but Chad Ochocinco, obviously great that year. All right, so Jared has now come up with a team consisting of Terry Baker and Jamar Jefferson at running back and Chad Ochocinco at wide receiver. Me, I'm over to Derek Anderson, Steven Jackson, and for my let's see here, my first receiver. Ooh, man, that's interesting.
There's a good bit to choose from. There really is.
Yeah, because we'll go. Because I got back to back here. So.
And you don't have to do receivers. You can throw in a tight end or a running back again if you want to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to sweep some talent away here. I'm going to take Brandon Cooks and I'm going to take Mike Hass as my receivers and sweep away quite a bit of Jared's receiving. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, no, I will take Brandon Cooks and Mike Hass. Brandon Cooks, again, one of my favorite just Oregon State alumni that I've ever seen come through the school. Just an awesome guy, and gotta love what he's been able to do in the NFL. And then Mike Hass, Jared, a little before your time, but Mike Hass, man, he was special, really special. I'm gonna have a lot of Edge fans or Edge subscribers that are definitely happy about that pick. Where do you go now? Flipping back around, you got to round out your receiver room or running back room. You got to go double. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna keep it in the line of receivers. And this is tough because I definitely had both of those guys on my radar, like you said, sweeping out a good bit of the talent there. Brandon Cooks, obviously a guy that's still very relevant in the NFL to this day. And Mike Hass, another dude where, you look up the all-time great Oregon State players, and he's another guy that's pretty high up on the list. So you definitely swept some guys from me. I think I'm going to keep it recent again, and I'll definitely have to explain my reason. But I think I'm going to take Hodge here.
Wow.
About Marcus Wheaton, thinking about a dude whose last name I can't pronounce. But again, it was I think it's Houshmandzadeh.
Yeah, TJ Houshmandzadeh. Yep, that's another good one.
I think I'm going to go with Hodges just because, again, I know what I'm getting with him. To me, when I first started covering the team, I was like, this dude is insane. Of course, he's not like making waves in the NFL yet by any means, but again, in terms of college careers, to me, he was one of the most underrated players that Oregon State's had in a long time. Dude dominated. I mean, just absolutely dominated. Sure hands. People knock his route running and maybe the speed a little bit, but he's not dropping a ball. He makes amazing catches. So I like him there with Chad Johnson. I think they make a good duo.
Yeah, that's nice. And I have to say, after watching some NFL games yesterday, what I can certainly say is I can't wait until Josh Allen gets to throw to Isaiah Hodgins. That's going to be fun. We obviously wish Isaiah the best, as he was down this year with shoulder surgery. Hopefully he'll be back next year. Again, a guy that, Jared and I feel really high on. And I completely respect that decision, because we watched, Hodge and Jake have some great moments, and both those guys are in the NFL now. So, that shows talent was here. And I really do believe that with that organization in Buffalo, that Isaiah will be able to find some success. So nice pick, Jared. I like it. And that will go ahead and wrap up the running back receiver groupings. And that'll go ahead and shift us, but to the offensive line to round out the 7 on offense, as we're doing 7 on 7 here. And I guess that is up to me for the next 2 picks on the offensive line, correct?
I think I'm back up. Didn't I just take Hodge?
Oh, yes, you're back up. Yes, go ahead, please.
Well, again, this is another group where I really had to do some research. Don't know a lot. I know the team's had some good offensive linemen come through recently, but I think I'm going to go with Levitre.
Ooh, Andy Levitre, a very, very nice, very, very nice pick. You took one from me there, Jared. I like it. Tell me what you liked about Levitre, just from your searches. Obviously, we all know just on the surface level, he had a heck of an NFL career in addition to a solid Oregon State career.
Yeah, absolutely. It was another guy. You look him up, he pops up instantly. But I really did admire the fact that he was a every game starter his junior and senior year. So instantly, I mean, that's the kind of people that you're looking for in an offensive lineman, just tough dudes who don't take any snaps off, play every game. So I like that. And again, like you said, really prosperous NFL career. So, college, NFL, stud in both of them. I think he's a good pick for the offensive line.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely took one of my starters away, Jared. So back to me for 2 or back to me for 1?
Yep, 2 in a row.
All right. So
this
easy peasy. I got to take Isaac Seumalo. That's a no-brainer for me, getting Isaac in there. I think back to when Oregon State recruited Isaac. His dad obviously was Joe Seumalo, was defensive line coach at Oregon State when Isaac was coming up, and Isaac was just from Corvallis High School. A super humble kid, and you just knew right away. This was a guy by some, I believe by some, was 4, sometime perhaps even a 5-star recruit, as far as just the potential of what people saw for him. And here's a guy that started at center day 1, true freshman, just day 1. I mean, the way that Isaac Seumalo was able to be a day 1 starter, he dealt with an injury later in his Oregon State career, but then basically has gone to Philadelphia after being drafted by the Eagles, and essentially been he's so varied, he can play all 5 different spots on the line. And throughout one way or another, he's been protecting, the Wentzes, the Carson, or the Wentzes, the Nick Foles up there in, Philly throughout this time. And
Hurts now too.
Yeah, and Hurts as well, as you mentioned. And he's just a guy that he was just such a pro-ready prospect. I had to sneak him in there. My second offensive lineman, I'm going to go way, way back, way back into the old days. Take John Didion.
See, this is how I know you're going far back, because this guy didn't even come up in my research.
So pretty, again, for all these edgers that, see how young we are, they're probably going to be like, this guy doesn't know much about John Didion. But, as far as being able to know the basic levels of John Didion, knowing that he was an unbelievably talented center, one of the better centers to, ever play in the then, I believe it was Pac-8 conference.
Wow.
Just a beast. So back over to you, Jared.
So I think I've got 2 left, right? 2 on the offensive line. And this one may surprise some folks, but I think I'm going to go, well, it probably won't. I think I'm going to go with Jeremy Perry.
Ooh.
I did some research on him, and seemed just like a real gritty dude. Obviously had some injuries throughout his career, but every time he came back, it was like he didn't skip a beat. And I really liked that. So I feel like he's a pretty good pick. You'll have to back me on that, because again, a little before my time, not quite as much as your previous pick, but I think he's a solid dude. And then I think to round everything out, to make it a little more recent, I think I'm gonna get, you might have to check me on the pronunciation. Is it Devon? Kyle Devon?
Oh, Kyle Devan. Yes, yes. Another really, gosh, goodness, Jared, you took a couple good ones from me there. That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean between Jeremy Perry and again Kyle Devan. Kyle Devan was another guy. I'm gonna draw a blank on where he is right now, but he's coaching somewhere, I believe.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where, but again, a strong, NFL career too. Another guy, Oregon State in those mid 2000s and offensive linemen in the NFL, those were just, symbiotic relationships. Coach Riley was, really putting some guys in there. You mentioned Levitri, I mentioned Sayamalu, you mentioned, Kyle Van as well, some other guys as well. So yeah, a couple really solid picks. Now for me having to round it out.
Looks like he was coaching in Arizona.
Yeah, that's right, because I that's right. I knew he was somewhere close by, and definitely shout out to him because he's I believe turned in a pretty solid coaching career so far. To round out my offensive lineman, I'm going to take Chris Gibson, All-American from the 2000 team. Again, I'm really going into those early 2000s. We're trying to create some of that Fiesta Bowl magic again. But Gibson, and just big, strong guy, obviously was honored with an All-American efforts for that 2000 year. Just another guy with Sayamalu and Didion that I think are very tough, very big bodies that'll be tough to move. So with that, we slide over to the defensive side of the ball. And I believe by order of the snake, Jared, is it you back up for two, or do I got one more and then you're
got one more?
Okay. So switching on over to my first defensive lineman. Folks, this is where I have to prioritize talent and prioritize, in my case, college talent. I'm taking Bill Swancut. Swanee going to be on this Oregon State dream team, the Brenden dream team. Bill Swancut, man, obviously didn't have the NFL career to be able to match the college career, but any Oregon State fan that doesn't remember what Bill Swancut was able to do to Oregon and the couple times that he played the Ducks, yeah, you're forgetting something pretty big in Oregon State history. Bill Swancut was a monster and a local guy. I'm taking him.
Okay, you took one off my list. That's okay. I made sure to do some good due diligence in case this did happen. So I think I'm gonna go with DeLawrence Grant.
Ooh, another nice one. Oh, do tell.
I think you had him on your list. I mean, probably so. The dude had obviously a good career at Oregon State, 3rd round draft pick, and spent some time with the Raiders before making his way out. But even in just a few years with Oakland, he made some pretty good plays. I mean, nearly double-digit sacks, almost 100 tackles. So definitely a intriguing guy. Wish I could have seen some more of him back in his heyday. But again, just based off some simple research, I definitely learned that DeLawrence Grant was not a dude that you wanted to mess with. So
no, yeah, I mean DeLawrence Grant. I always remember. He and Chris Gibson. Were my offensive linemen were honored with All-America selections that year. There's so much talent on that 2000s team. And again, DeLawrence Grant was just another guy that just. Yeah, Jared, if you ever get some free time and you got to watch some highlights of good defense, go back and watch that 2000, any highlights of Oregon State's 2000 defense. I mean, we think that hey, this team was, huge and great. But by offensive standards, it was a pretty solid, nothing rock socks off that, offensive team. You had some guys have some pretty good seasons, but it was defense where that team made its money. And DeLawrence Grant, that's a nice pickup. That's a nice pickup.
Yeah, I like it. And I think we're still on the D line, right?
Yeah, so you got one more on the D line.
Okay, and I'm gonna probably mess this up, but I think it's Stephen Paya, PA.
Stephen Paya. There's Jared taking the real one that grinds my gears. Oh, dominating force.
He's not too old of a guy, so I was excited to have someone again. Just trying to keep it somewhat recent. I got two really new guys with the offense, so I had to try to find somebody defensive wise as well that was not too old. And I obviously immediately noticed the long NFL career, nearly 10 years in the league, 2nd round draft pick. So obviously the dude made some plays for Oregon State, started in a lot of games for the Beavers too. So no doubt he played a big role on the team. So I knew if I could, I had to snatch him up.
Yeah, and did you know, Jared, that actually he broke the all-time combine benching record at the time for most reps by a defensive tackle that I'm sure, knowing what we've known in the last 11 years, it's been broken since. Yeah. But at the time, the guy had done the most reps with amongst defensive tackles. Stephen Paya was Jared, you and I say all the time, I'm going to take a quick little sidebar. You and I talk all the time about these defensive linemen, Oregon State edgers. They want defensive linemen, right? That's something. Stephen Paya is the epitome of what a defensive lineman is and what you want them to be as far as even that real space eating spot. So that's a really nice pick, Jared. You've got me very jealous.
All-American, Tillman Award winner. So I just knew it.
All right. So I got to fill out my defensive line. So now that my guy has taken Stephen Paya and DeLawrence Grant to round out his, you'll have one spot left on the defensive line. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, I think. Is that, I think that is it. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, you'll have one left on the defensive line. So he's right now, let's see.
I just have Grant and Pyatt right now.
Yeah, Grant and Pyatt. So I'm going to round out my defensive line. I'm going to take Jess Lewis, who, again, defensive tackle from way back in the day. Kind of one of those same things when I was looking at, potential backup defensive linemen. I knew that Jess Lewis was the player who made one of the biggest plays in Oregon State history, tackling O.J. Simpson in 1967 to prevent him from reaching the touchdown and beat number 1 USC 3-0. I mean, again, one of those things where you look back at the history, and Jess Lewis is definitely up there. So got to throw him on the defensive line. Then I'm going to round it out with my guy, Victor Butler, another, just a guy that kind of played. It was almost like he was kind of that hybrid outside linebacker, stand-up defensive end, maybe before it really became a thing. But Victor Butler was another guy who, in the mid to late 2000s, was just a guy that I just really enjoyed watching. He played the game very tough, very strong. He actually had some big-time plays throughout his career. And you look at Oregon State's defense, 2007, 2006, that whole kind of area. He was a big part of that. So I'm going to snag him to play edge on that defensive line. So that'll wrap up my defensive line. Jared, how are you going to round out yours?
So you left me with a couple guys. Thank you for that. Looks our research was a little different, and obviously you know more about the past teams than I do. I think I'm going to go with Dwan Edwards.
Another nice one. Very nice.
On the interior defensive line. I saw that he was, I think, a sack leader at one point, may still be. So I was like, if he's available, I've got to get him. Wanted to get the other two first. I just don't, something about DeLawrence Grant I liked, and then obviously Pyatt. No need for explanation there. But then, Dwan Edwards again, all-time tackle for loss leader at some point. So I knew I had to snatch him up if he was available. I always want to get those disruptors, the guys that can get in the backfield if possible. So,
and again, I just like to harken back and remind everyone. If anyone at home is keeping tally or whatever, it seems as though the team that's picking getting from the 2000 group is going to be maybe the one that has the most success. Jared, you pulled another one, Dwan Edwards. Again, a huge piece to that defensive line of that 2000 team. He made some huge plays. That's a tremendous pickup.
Yeah, the Beavers and the 2000s were certainly not to be messed with. And
yeah.
Hopefully they'll return to that same stature here soon under Coach Jonathan Smith and everything. And you never know.
Under Coach Jonathan Smith, Jared, how would he feel if he knew we were leaving him out of this?
He's definitely an honorable man. He's on my list. It was Baker and Anderson and Jonathan Smith.
Oh yeah. No, just giving him a hard time. But all right, so we've rounded out our defensive linemen, our offense, or on the defense. Now we move over to one linebacker. Jared, you got one more pick, and then I got back to back. Let's see, who are you going to take?
I just know I'm going to be taking yours here. I just know it.
We'll see.
Did he ever play for the Eagles?
I have 3 or 4 names, and I think one of these did. Yeah. So go ahead.
I'm going with I'm second guessing myself.
Ooh, second guessing your linebacker.
If he's my only linebacker, I can't go with them, and I'm gonna go with someone that's definitely. I'm gonna get Nick Barnett. He's
Ooh, dang. Yep.
is that who you're gonna
That's
get?
it. He's one of them. That was a really good pick, Nick Barnett. Again, just casually, just another linebacker, mid 2000s, solid.
Exactly, and I noticed that too. That he was a 2000s guy. I think he got drafted in like '03 or something like that, and had a good career. Not with the Eagles. I don't know where that came from, but with Green Bay and a couple other teams. I think is so a long career. I think 10 years total in the NFL, and obviously a first rounder out of Oregon State. So definitely a guy that I wanted to get.
Ooh, yeah. You know, I'm gonna stay homegrown here. Got to go Trent Bray. Trent Bray gonna be my linebacker. Boom. Yeah. No, Trent Bray is one of my favorite just Oregon State interviews amongst the coaching staff. I love the energy he brings. I love how he coaches his linebackers. I loved, you know, I really do think that as far as a linebackers coach goes, he is the most, if not the most, one of the most, what's the word, underrated or just overqualified and underrated linebackers coaches in the country. I really think he's going to be a DC one day. And the guy just played with a fire. You know, there's the same fire that he coaches with is the same fire that he plays with. And I need someone who's going to be flying around making plays, you know, with their head on fire. And that's going to be Trent Bray. I love the energy he brings to that linebacker spot. And then I'm going to switch over to the secondary with my next pick. Let's see who I get one pick here to take a good defensive back away from Jared.
Make a good one. We've only got 3 picks left.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick someone that I know is going to maybe sting a little bit, but this is also just, it's a selfish pick. It really is. I know he wasn't able to get the win yesterday, but I got to take Jordan Poyer. He's going number 1 in the defensive backs, my Astoria, Oregon homegrown guy. Jordan Poyer, same kind of thing. You know, 2012, that, you know, 9 to 12, I believe was his time in Corvallis. And I would argue that Oregon State has not had a defender with the same type of swagger that they played with since Jordan Poyer, since he graduated. There may be a couple guys that may, you know, be able to sneak in there. And I think the Beavers have had a few decent guys these last 8-9 years. But the way that Poyer led and the way that he led by example, just his leadership, his toughness, his grit, everything fit Corvallis, and he's going to fit real well in my secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good pick. Obviously, a dude that was on my list. That's a no-brainer. So I'm moving on to the secondary now, and I'm gonna take Mr. Brandon Browner.
Ooh, that's a clean pick. That is a nice pick.
I love the kind of underdog story that he had. You know, going undrafted out of Oregon State, going to playing in the Canadian Football League for a little while, and boom, gets to the NFL, and he's a Super Bowl champion. So super cool, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Matter of fact,
lots of talent.
Yeah, a Pro Bowler as well. So I mean, it was a cool story. Obviously, Pac-10 at the time, freshman of the year when he first got to Oregon State. So automatically was a big time playmaker for the Beavs. And then, you know, despite things not going his way right away after college, he was able to make the most of it and got some great accolades to show for it.
Yeah, that's a nice pick. I'm curious to see where you go next in this little secondary mix.
Yeah. I really wish I could have got Mr. Poyer. Didn't know he was going to go first round. So I think I'm gonna have to get Reggie Tong played for Seattle, right? Let me double check.
Yeah, you might have to double check on that. I actually do not know off the top of my head. But if that's your pick, that's a really nice one.
He did, and that's why I remembered his name, because around that time that was when obviously the Steelers were pretty good, and I for those who don't know, I'm a Steelers fan. And I remember them playing. I don't think he was still with Seattle then when they played in 05, or was it 04 in the Super Bowl. But either way, I remember Mr. Tongue, and obviously another guy with a long career and an early round draft pick as well for Oregon State. And
starting a legacy at Oregon State, no less either. Gotta love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So okay. So Jared's got one more defensive back. He needs me to make sure that I don't take two names here because I got to take two and wrap up my team here.
Yeah, we're wrapping up your team.
All right. My second defensive back's going to be Mitch Musin is going to be coming in. He's going to play some defensive back for me. You can tell maybe that was a little frustration there from Jared.
I had him on my list. Let's just say that.
Yeah, Mitch, another guy that, just real early in the 2000s, but again, another just really solid, strong defensive back. He knew how to, he got some interceptions. There's a lot to like about Mitch. And most Beaver fans, will be able to remember back to Mitch Musin, remember what he was able to bring to the table. Very solid secondary defender. And this last one, it was really tough.
It's got to be who I'm thinking of. It's got to be.
I don't think it is. It's maybe, again, someone who Beaver fans will probably love. But I don't know how it's going to, it's hard. He's a little under the radar, in my opinion.
Okay.
Sabby Piscatelli is going to be picked defensive back number 3. Jared's happy, but Edger's going to drop in the comments why he's sadly mistaken for passing on Sabby Piscatelli.
I couldn't even pronounce that, so I couldn't have picked him.
Oh yeah, no, that was that was one of the names I just loved to say as a kid, right? I could always say it like when Piscatelli got an interception, right? It sounds cool to roll off the tongue. But Sabby was another guy who, he got drafted, ended up in the NFL. It didn't last a super long time, but a really, really, really good defensive back, a guy that just played really, really sound football. He hit well. Was great with his hands too, just knew how to be in the right place at the right time. So yeah, that wraps up my secondary. Jared, who are you rounding it out with?
So I'm going back and forth still right now about this last one. There's guys on my list still that haven't been picked yet, but I'm trying to think of which one I want. Ultimately, I think I'm going to go with the feel good story, kind of feel bad, kind of feel good. I'm going to go with Mr. Dennis Weathersby.
Yes, he was on my list as well, and I definitely understand how you mean with the those...
kind of feel good, kind of feel bad. Obviously, things didn't go super well for him, and obviously his health was in danger there for a while after his college career. But
an All-American, I believe, at Oregon State, just exactly. Stunning.
A fantastic collegiate player who never got to see his potential be seen. So maybe if my guys ever decide to play a 7-on-7 game, he'll be able to show everybody what never was in the NFL, unfortunately. But yeah, that's going to round it out for me. I think I'm happy with that pick.
I think most of my guys probably could still put on the pads, but I don't know about John Didion and Jess Lewis. It might be a little tougher for those guys to put on the pads, Jared.
My last one was going to be between him and I think it's Tristan Deku.
Yeah, Tristan Deku. Yeah,
I think he's still playing, if I'm not mistaken. I know he was playing some.
Tristan Deku and Steven Nelson, who plays for the Steelers. Actually, your boy Steven Nelson went to Oregon State as well. And Jared's out, folks. Wait, what?
How did I forget?
Oh, man. Okay, well, now you've got the greatest draft. No, I'm just kidding. But, yeah, no, Steven Nelson's another guy in that mid-2000s. He made my secondary kind of honorable mention in case you take somebody B-list. But, yeah, Steven Nelson's turned in a pretty good Nelson Island career in the pros so far.
I should have picked him simply because of the fact that he played for the Steelers. But I like Dennis. Again, it's a good story. Not a good story, but a good dude who never got to see his potential realized. So
so let's go ahead and go through the 7-on-7s just to kind of wrap this podcast up. I know Jared and I had a ton of fun, putting these teams together, and we're going to see. And it's going to be up to you, Edgers. 7-on-7, which team wins? Is it my team? Is it Jared's team? That's probably Jared's team. But if you like my team, go ahead and drop it in there.
I need to look at all of them side by side.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start with my group. So quarterback, we're going to have Derek Anderson. Running back, we're going to have Steven Jackson. Wide receiver is going to be Mike Hass and Brandon Cooks. Anchored by offensive lineman Isaac Seumalo, Chris Gibson, and John Didion. Followed by defensive lineman Bill Swancutt, Jess Lewis, and Victor Butler. Linebacker for me, Trent Bray. And defensive backs, Jordan Poyer, Mitch Musin, and Sabby Piscatelli. Jared, let's hear your squad.
I don't even have them all the way pulled up. You'll have to tell me.
Oh yeah. I actually did not keep it super tight as well as.
I'll pull it up.
as much on yours, but at the very least, I know your offense by heart.
Yeah, I think I remember them all.
Yeah, so your offense by heart. Let's at least start with your offense. And on that side, you went with Terry Baker at quarterback.
Yes.
You went with Jamar Jefferson at running back.
Yep.
Your receivers. Remind me your receivers.
Chad Johnson, Isaiah Hodgins, and I think I got – who did I get for my third one? Oh, man, we're going to have to rewind.
Oh, no, because we just – remember, it's 3 total out of 2 running backs and receivers. So 2 receivers, 1 running back.
You're right. Yeah, JJ, Chad Johnson, and Isaiah Hodgins.
Yep,
right.
And then your offensive line. I'm curious. Remind me your offensive line again.
Andy Levitre.
Yep.
Jeremy Pickett and Kyle DeVan.
Okay, and then we move to the defensive line, and you've got
Lawrence Grant, Steve Wyatt, and I think I got Dwan Edwards as well.
And then Nick Barnett's your linebacker. And then for the defensive backs, you were going with?
I think I had Brandon Browner, I had Reggie Tung, and Mr. Dennis Weathersby.
Yeah, your defensive back group, Jared, I have to give kudos. Just right off the bat, first impressions, your defensive back group is solid. It's got a lot of talent back there.
I mean, regardless of how good the team is on paper, the difference is like, most of my stuff was done by research. Obviously, Isaiah Hodgins and Jamar Jefferson are 2 guys that I got to watch play, but a lot, and Chad Johnson too, of course. But a lot of these dudes, like, if you look them up, of course, their names will pop up. So I wish I could have gotten some more sleepers, maybe like you did. But you never know. We'll have to see what everyone says.
Yeah, no. So make sure to go ahead and drop any and all comments that you have regarding these 2 7-on-7s. Is Jared's team going to crush mine? Am I going to win in a tight battle? Is Jared did he just nail this draft? What was his draft grade? Did he go A+? I went F-, inverse, reverse. Let us know. Tell us on the damn board, BeaversEdge.com. And that's where you're going to be able to start the whole conversation regarding these 2 dream teams, so to speak. So if you want to talk with your friends, have a comment, say, no, Brendan's wrong. No, Jared's wrong. Let us know. Damn board. We want to hear your guys' feedback. BeaversEdge.com premium subscribers. I'm excited to hear what kind of feedback we get back on this group, Jared.
Yeah, I want to see who we missed. I think people will be overall satisfied with who we've got, but I'm curious if there's anybody that's like, how could you not put like the way I felt about Steven Nelson, for example?
Right. Yes. No, obviously, it's worth mentioning, Jared and I we're so wired into the team right now and current and future prospective recruits potentially joining the program. It's a lot of names to keep through, and you really gotta, especially on the lines, and that would be that's a spot. If there's any offensive, defensive linemen you thought we missed, any linebackers we thought we missed, just let us know. Let us know your reasoning too. Obviously, as Jared and I, as we mentioned, had quite a few factors in building this team. Some of it was who we liked better. Some of it was pro careers. It's all a bunch of million little factors all coming into it. But this is how we ended up our teams. Jared's 7-on-7 versus my 7-on-7. You guys, the Beavers Edgers, will get to decide who comes out on top. So make sure to drop a comment in on the damn board, and we will definitely be looking forward to those. So that'll go ahead and wrap it up for this Dream Team edition of the Edge podcast. Big shout out to Jared Halus for joining me to put together this group of Dream Team Beavers. It was a fun time, man.
Yeah, it certainly was. We'll have to think of some more ideas, and maybe we can try basketball.
Yeah, no basketball, and then you certainly have to figure, at least in this market, baseball will be quite exciting too. So I think
in basketball.
Yeah, no, I'm like, there's enough Oregon State basketball players from at least the 80s when they were dominant that I think we maybe could get a basketball one. Let us know, folks. You think we could do maybe 5-on-5 for basketball, right? Maybe we switch it up a little bit, do something like that. But nevertheless, if you guys have any ideas, comments, suggestions, just drop it on the damn board for Jared and I. We really appreciate you guys checking out this edition of the Dream Team podcast. Keep it locked right here at BeaversEdge.com for the latest on all Oregon State football and recruiting.